So I'm Gwendolyne. I'm the product manager of Smartify, which was the ArtTech Prize winner in 2017. And I'm very happy to introduce our panel of ArtTech Prize startups. So with me today, we've got Edgar Hemery, co-founder and CEO of Embodme, Carl de Poncins, chairman and co-founder of Panthea, Codin Popescu, co-founder and CEO of Artivive, and Tomas Sluka, CEO and co-founder of CREAL. CREAL. Thank you, Tomas. Let's have a round of introduction, but first I'd like to remind our attendees that you can ask your questions via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Don't hesitate, and we'll take your questions throughout the session. Now, Edgar, would you please start with a brief introduction of Embodme? You're muted, Edgar. Yes. Can you hear us okay? While you sort it out, maybe we start with Tomas?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Tomas, tell us a bit about CREAL.
Yeah, so the CREAL, that's why I tried to, sorry for that, correct you. But
no
it's
worries.
that video device to let you see real, the digital information. So technically speaking, we make new type of display, which is way more natural for the augmented reality or virtual reality. It's a genuinely three-dimensional display. So we are not primarily art tech company, but we create as a byproduct, basically, medium for art. So the goal is, of course, to have augmented reality glasses within this form factor with the projector, which provides image unlike any other device you can buy today. And the difference is that all devices you've probably tried, virtual or augmented reality, provide imperfect representation of 3D. There are just two flat images, and this makes you feel somehow sick, like most people. If you have virtual reality, you probably felt that very quickly. So the reason is that the eyes cannot behave naturally in that, and with our device, they can. I hope that's enough.
Sure. Thank you very much. We'll get back in a minute about what happened to you for the past years. Edgar, have you managed to sort your audio issue? Would you like to join us?
You hear me out now?
Yes. Hi.
Yeah. Yes. So hi. So yeah, Embodme is it's a new startup. We've been around for three years now, and we recently released our first product. It's music controller, what you can see here. So we work on like human-computer interfaces. Basically, this first product is about sensing all the musical articulations on this pad. So this pad is semi-rigid. It's made out of silicon, and it's got 1,004 sensors inside, so that every touch articulation, such as when you play staccato or legato or you hit with drumsticks, it's really sensitive to all this. And because it's made of LEDs, you can display whatever you want. So you can have controllers, you can have little keyboards, you can change your scales. It's very versatile. And we also have a more deep tech enterprise as well. We work on other products such as gesture recognition sensors. So our future products that will sell as a musical controller, but not only, will also sell this technology to B2B and B2B, will be about sensing finger gestures above the surface. So that's our work in the touch screen market, adding touch expressivity and gesture recognition to a third dimension. So yeah, that's about it.
Really cool. Thank you. Codin, would you like to jump in and tell us about Artivive?
So glad to be here. First of all, Gwendolyne, thank you for taking over the main task. Artivive, well, we at Artivive, we see augmented reality as basically a new art form. So something like film or photography was 100 years ago. And you will not be able to remember, but you were going to the cinema to view the news. And the same was with photography. It was a very informative medium. The same thing happened with augmented reality. Over the last 10, 12, 15 years, it has been a very informative medium. And film evolved to a creative medium, and that's when it exploded. It was at that time Hollywood still a creative powerhouse, not so commercial as today, and they basically exploded the medium. With photography, it was much later. It was in the 1960s when Kodak simplified the whole structure and put it in the hands of the creatives. That's when the medium exploded, and we're doing the same thing with augmented reality. And we see it as a new art form, as the art form of the 21st century. We have been around for about 5 years. We have built the third biggest creator community worldwide after Facebook and Snapchat. Not by far, so we're on their trails. And as opposed to them, we are basically monetizing the content, not the viewers and not the users. And yeah, it's been a joyride over the last couple of years. We've been part of the ArtTech Forum, I think in 2019, just before the pandemic. And it's been a bit of a rocket ride since then. What we're doing, and we can give some insight.
Thank you. Cal, tell us about Panthea.
Hi, thanks. Just as Thomas said, thank you very much for taking care of the hard parts of this panel. We participated to the ArtTech Forum in 2017, so together with Smartify, and we came short second, as far as I can remember. We are active in the performing arts sector, and in particular on accessibility tools with translation. So we provide surtitling, which is the equivalent of subtitling for films and series in the performing arts sector. And we do that on traditional screens above or next to the stages, and on individual devices, including augmented reality glasses. And the extraordinary benefit of augmented reality glasses in performing arts is that it allows you to keep your eyes focused on the stage, which is a use case that is really decisive for augmented reality glasses, and therefore provides a market for these devices with a very interesting spectator experience. And this year, so we've been doing that for text, for subtitles, for foreigners, and for people with hearing impairments and visual impairments. And since this year, we introduced a new version of our software that allows to combine text and audio and video with sign language videos integrated in the smart glasses, which allows you, if you are a deaf person and speak only sign language, to have a video of sign language projected virtually in your field of vision and follow opera or theater shows together with people without the impairment. So that's what we've been doing in the past years, and we are looking forward to the next steps, because finally theaters are reopening their gates and borders are also reopening gradually, which means we are going to have customers and partners, which is the essence of our business.
I can really relate because I'm French. I was living in the Netherlands, went to a Russian play with English subtitles, and the subtitles were over there. The play was down there, and I could not follow anything of what was happening over there or down there. So I would love to use your glasses. Thank you all for introducing your startups. Short word about Smartify then. So we were at the ArtTech Prize in 2017, Back then, we were working with 2 or 3 museums. Today, we're working with over 200 museums. So I'm really happy to have to be able to do a retrospect of the past few years. Smartify is a museum app that you can use to scan artworks, and Smartify will recognize the artworks and tell you their story. It's an app that you can use around the world. We're working with the National Gallery and the British Museum, for instance, in London, but we're also working with the Indian Heritage Center in Singapore and the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery in the US. So really one app that you can keep in your phone to discover art, listen to tours, listen to podcasts, and know about what's happening in museums. At the ArtTech Prize in 2017, I think we were a team of 4 or 5. Today we're almost at 25 people in the team, so it's been a ride, as most of you, I guess. The question I would have for you first will be, and I'm sorry to bring up bad news, but how did COVID impact your growth? How did COVID impact your activity? Did you have to rethink your offer, your product, your pace too, or was it just a straight ride? Who wants to start?
I can start if it's okay. At the first moment, I'm sure most of you had the same feeling in February, March 2020. We felt it already in January, because we had the Chinese market and the South Asian markets, which started to give out some signals that basically something is not right. And when it hit Europe in March, we were like, whoops, what we're gonna do? Yeah. So we just laid back for 2 weeks, basically did the cash flow, saw that we can make it through the first month. And that was the first reaction. Afterwards, we started budgeting and trying to see how much runway we have, when we have to raise, and so on. And then it started somewhere in the summer, when everybody started to feel relaxed. That's the moment of inflection, when also the community grew very, very strong, and we saw that people were creating a lot of artworks, not viewing so much because they were basically trapped in house, most of it. But there was a lot of creational processing from the community. So we grew in that year from about 37,000 artists at the beginning of the year to almost 90,000 at the end of the year. So it's a pretty steep curve. And we had to adapt the business model. We had to adapt and search for new clients. The museums were basically penniless and closed. And anyway, they're very hard to adapt. So it was a long sales cycle, I think, in the whole museum business. We still have a lot of customers as museums as customers, and it's always fun to work with them. But we adapted and basically went also with corporates and so on. So we basically tried to introduce cultural and creativity and augmented reality also in the companies. And I think that helped us a lot. And now coming out of the crisis, we see that it's really picking up. Museums are also reopening step by step, which is good. And the creational process just went through the roof, I think. The question is of adapting the business models. I think that was the key to it.
Yeah, there's been that. At Smartify, there's also been adapting the product, because the app was built to be used inside museums, and we transformed it into an app to be used at home to discover art. Was it the case for you, Edgar, or Tomas? Did you have to adapt product and or business model?
Yes. Well, for a consumer product with electronics, 2020 was not the best year to start. Because of components shortage. We had to, well, basically we are lucky we have a electronics engineer in-house, so that we can readapt our PCBs, so our electronic cards, the components. We had to change them quite often, because one day you will learn that this component is not €5 anymore, it's €70. So you have to change the design basically. And in terms of production, usually you would have things under like 3-4 weeks, but this time it was more like 6 to 9 months, like for real. And shipping would take forever by boat. So you would take by plane, by air, which would be 10 times the price. So yeah, things to take under consideration, like raising money and doing something else. Yeah, many things have to change.
From I'm assuming there's no chance this is gonna pace out, so it's gonna be probably an ongoing challenge. Is that?
Yeah, for I heard that in 2023 things will settle again, but in the meantime, like for now, I know that everyone has bought, like all the big constructors with electronics have bought their components for 2022. So you can't buy anything for 2022. So it's already sold out.
Nice.
In terms of components, yeah.
Okay, well, good luck.
Yeah.
Tomas, Cal, something you want to add?
Okay, maybe my turn. I didn't want to start because for us the pandemic was actually super lucky time, but maybe also to say like what changed since the ArtTech Forum. I just looked that we were part of it in June 2018, and that time we were a team of one. We just raised money around that time. We were 6 months old. Now we are 20 people with
Nice.
1 million in funding, and big part of it was actually growing during the pandemics. So we do also hardware as Edgar, but more like a demonstrator of the technology. So we are selling really the how to make the stuff, not the stuff itself. And the lucky part was that first we closed the round right before the pandemic started, like in January or December. And during the pandemics, I mean, we couldn't actually really progress in the business because we extremely depend on live demos. You know, it's a display which you cannot show on a classical display. You really need to put it on your head, and you couldn't travel at all. So at that moment, it was actually still not on the head, but on the table. So you could only look through it and play with some content in front of you, but it was it. But the lucky part was that others had a problem, and mainly the team of Magic Leap in Lausanne. So they were doing really the same type of hardware, augmented reality classes. And we quickly tried to raise money to kind of get most of the team and their facilities and everything. So, and we succeeded. And the second part of the luck was that we couldn't travel anyway, kind of grow the business. We get enough funds, and we could then work on the product itself. So we had a lot of excuses. That was the lucky part of that. And I think we wouldn't be where we are right now. We have already really fully functioning headsets. So we have virtual reality headset, we have augmented reality headset, and we have even medical device, which is actually the only thing we managed to sell, also the virtual reality headset during pandemic, because the companies are in Europe and you really can, just could travel even during the pandemics. And it's just new type of display which provides different image unlike any other device. So the demand is really there, but it's out of our control, the market and so on. And the last part of the lucky push was that the digital communication became a bigger thing, right? You could even say, like, imagine that we don't have to meet like this with these small tiles in front of you, and often even without that, right? How many times did you talk to blind screen during the pandemics? So the augmented and virtual reality could provide much more realistic, even the conferencing, right? So all is just kind of give it a injection, even financially.
Really cool. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Cal, you're muted. Cal, we cannot hear you. You're muted.
I'm actually the opposite of Thomas, basically, as you can imagine, because as I said earlier, we are operating in performing arts. And so this means that we've been kind of hibernating on the market for the last 18 months. But we have survived, and we can analyze why and what were our strong points and our weak points. Our weak points were to be exposed only to performing arts, to live performances, which means we have developed projects to go digital or to provide digital services for theater plays that wanted to display online, etc. It's occupied us. It's brought a little bit of business, but it hasn't been a new business model for us. It just didn't make sense. We were not differentiated enough. And at the same time, in France and in Germany, where we have offices, there have been a lot of government support for us to survive, saying that it was a short time pandemic, or let's say not a systematic change, that one day people would be able to go outside again, and that therefore live entertainment would still be something after the crisis. So protecting the businesses that serve live entertainment was important for the societies we live in, and which has helped us keep our capacities, our financial capacities, and part of our staff. So we've done that basically. So we are the type of companies that are in news that received a lot of help and that went on hibernating. And in parallel of that, we've pushed R&D so that our products after the crisis would be better, simpler to use, and add new functionalities. So being the first company in our field to be multinational, with offices in 2 countries, but operations in several, and having raised funds several times, we have a financial structure that gives us more strength and more capability to innovate during these times compared to other small agencies that just did something else, basically. So we're still there. We have a better product and better services, and we're ready to come out of the crisis, which means that future looks better. But we've increased our debt in the meantime, so it's going to be even more challenging. However, we're not short of cash and not short of ideas, and we are so happy that curtains finally go up again, because this is our bread and butter. So yeah, this is more or less what we've done, and it's been so. If I just, it's not to say it's been an opportunity, because it's been a disaster for our sector, but the fact that we come out alive and stronger in our services and product offer may represent an opportunity for us, because our customers will need products and services that are on shelf, because they need to go fast and they are short of money and short of energy. So we've seen already since June, July that we are gaining market shares again, and that business is picking up quite fast, because as soon as theaters reopen, actually they need things that work, and not so many companies have been able to keep a high level of service.
All right. Well, wishing you the best. What are you guys looking forward for the next years that are going to come, hoping? We're done with COVID. What's happening to your company in the next 2-3 years?
Going out.
Going out.
Just going out. Just personally and for our products and services. Well, if I spoke last for the previous question, I'm going to speak first for this one. But yeah, what we believe is that theaters, operas, festivals are going to want to restart with a better service to their spectators, and they have thought about the meaning of what they do and their mission, and we believe that we serve their mission. But when they were so occupied, they were thinking that what they did was already good, so they were not really questioning their business model and their future. Now we provide solutions for them to speak to broader audiences, to attract foreigners, to attract people with impairments, deaf and handicapped communities, which is for many of them part of their mission. And we have on-shelf tools for that. So we are rebuilding. It's an after the war rebuilding era that we are hoping to see ahead of us.
All right. I'm assuming Codin, it's going to be pretty similar for Artivive.
To be honest, I'm following Tomas right now. because
Well,
that's actually what I'm waiting for now, to see augmented reality glasses that actually work. We had the hope with Magic Leap that they would bring out something that works, and they had a pretty good concept. They basically botched it, but I think that was a bit of a misfortune. I'm looking forward for glasses to really come out as a platform. We have the main advantage that we have a lot of content and high quality content, and also we don't have very ephemeral content. We have long lasting content because it's creativity. So we are really looking forward to see the new computing platforms coming out and see the glasses come to life and start using those and starting to distribute content on those channels. So I think that's the next big step.
all right. For that, you need working glasses. So
Exactly.
Tomas,
So I'm counting on Tomas.
Tomas, tell us, when are they going out?
Yeah, well, you should not be asking me, because I would say we do next display for next generation glasses. So the first ones are announced basically this and next year. Facebook actually rolled out first, but they don't have a display. So are not really augmented reality glasses, but there are Chinese, Xiaomi, and others. And you can be quite sure that it should really shoot up when Apple releases the glasses, but maybe 23 or something like that. But it will be very likely something like hands-free smartwatch glasses, not really super rich content, more like really information panel in front of you. So kind of the full-scale augmented reality will probably stay more like in the entertainment industry, but should stay in art as well, because you can have it still kind of bigger, uglier, but with the rich content. And the really kind of widespread AR is predicted to take 10 years. But then you can imagine that you will see simply the real world overlaid with digital information. So really completely new medium, and it will be backed by a computer which is offloaded. It's not on your head. It's somewhere in the cloud. So it will be kind of like a bigger part of our brain, in fact. And so, but these are things which should be happening even without us. But we are kind of in competition to provide the better, the more natural type of display, which is really not yet here. And even if you find like market analysis, there's not a problem with lack of money in the development or lack of desire, or or even ability to market it. There is really lack of innovation in that. We need to solve a lot of problems. And maybe what it means for us, as I mentioned, we cannot show what we do in other way than basically physically. We can show some videos, but there is a lot of misunderstandings as well. Is it actually really three-dimensional? Because you don't have three-dimensional display. So we have basically packed use cases. We should be able to travel first time in November to US to have our road trip, if it is not locked again. Then Asia, because there most of the hardware things are happening. And we really expect to get, I'm actually excited about it, because all the time before, our prototypes were kind of crude demos. You had to have a lot of excuses, and you were hoping the person has still some imagination that it can be smaller, the content can be richer, and so on. But and we were showing it kind of every small improvement, but it often feels like watching a grass growth. You don't really see the difference much when you see it too often. But the 2 years almost of pandemics now make such a big difference that it will be hopefully jaw-dropping, that we take the device and we'll say, oh, wow. And we started having visits already now, and the wow is there with higher frequency than before. So
All right. Well, then I look forward to testing that. Hope you'll come in France or in London. Edgar, when are we testing your pad?
Soon, I guess. We're working on the distributor right now.
Wow.
So yeah, there are already a few units in some shops, not in France yet, but soon. Yeah, but I think maybe the next product we'll release might interest you. Basically, what we are working on is adding a third dimension to touchscreens. So say you have any touchscreen like your iPhone, like this. You have the LEDs here, and you have a little 3D camera over there. So it's a sensor, and all the Face ID you do, all the face recognition is done with this sensor. What we're working on is we are trying to add a fourth pixel to the LED screen and make the whole screen the 3D camera, basically. So if we succeed in doing so, what it does is essentially is you wouldn't have the problem of field of use. So the whole screen of your laptop or smartphone would become the objective of a 3D camera. And what it does, one of the application is you could do contactless interaction. And contactless interaction is, of course, nice for hygienic reasons. You don't have to touch screens in shopping malls or in train stations or even your phone, but you could do it in very short range, so very close to the screen. So that means you can be precise, and the interaction is very reactive and robust. So that's our main objectives for the coming years, to release this sensor and technology.
Really cool.
Thanks.
I want to circle back on what Tomas and Codin you were saying. Cal, do I understand correctly that you already have your devices available to the audience in some theaters and operas?
Yes. Yes. In fact, our use case can accommodate very well the current state of the art of the hardware.
Okay.
So we use smart glasses in theaters, and they work properly for our use case. In fact, there's been in our analysis a conflict between the need for them to be invisible, just like you wear normal spectacles, just like Edgar, and the need to be efficient in displaying the information, especially having it immersive, which means in the center of your field of vision. So that's the major flaw of the Google glasses, is that they were providing a little screen on the top left of your field of vision, which means that it was more of a notification screen rather than an augmented reality screen. And in comparison, the Magic Leap or the HoloLens, Microsoft HoloLens solutions were very immersive, but extremely heavy, and you can't wear that in the streets. It's just impossible. So we have a partnership with Epson. We've had it for many years now, and we are among the first users of their very last generation device that was issued this year, the Moverio BT40S. And these smart glasses are great for use case. You look like a cyborg, but it doesn't matter because you're in the dark in the opera house. So basically, people can use it. And the big benefits are the fact that you don't disturb anyone because nobody else can see the content, and you can really display the content as you want with the size, the brightness, and the color you want, as a really VIP experience, which means that you can follow the play, but at the same time have the content, and it works both for text and video, as I mentioned, with sign language. So yeah, we have a big project on air tonight in Lille, in the north of France, in partnership with a public theater. That's going to be implemented for several performances. But they were used at the opera in Lille, the opera in Paris this summer, at the Avignon Festival. We're going to be at another international theater festival in November in Rennes. We have projects, and some venues are also starting to install kits. It's a bit like audio guides in museums, but for theater. So the Teatro Stabile in Torino has purchased our system this year. And they have smart glasses, smart phones, and tablets. So you can actually choose as a spectator which display you want to use. And we also have a first customer in Morocco, in Rabat, where there's an amazing new theater being built. And so they're going to have both screen display for subtitles and smart glasses for accessibility. So yes, we are using them. We are integrators. So we don't design the hardware, but we use it, and we have developed the app to make it work. And our use case very specifically works with the current generations. Price is an obstacle because these devices are still expensive, like high-end smartphones, basically. And comfort, mechanical comfort can be improved. But in terms of comfort of reading, it's stunning. Frankly, it's magic because text is simply floating in the air, and since you're looking at the stage, the text is really at an infinite distance, so the effort of your eyes are very limited compared to any other display method. Use them. So it's exciting because we feel like it's a very small application field, but we are among the first to gather experience on how people interact with these devices and how they start to own it.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you.
But I'm afraid it's not going to solve Codin and Tomas' problem because
yeah, for us trying to have people walk in museums, it's gonna be another one. But for now, we've got smartphones.
I guess the only solution is that whale jumping on the demo of Unreal, which they never managed to replicate.
Magically.
Yeah, magically, yeah, exactly. It's still this problem which is not solved between the focus of the two planes, of the far plane and the close plane. And unless that's solved, it will not be a solution.
We solve it, we have it solved, but we don't in the product. It's actually exactly what we do. That the image has a focal depth. It's not only like close and far, it's any distance. So I'm really glad to hear that you know about the problem. You describe it as kind of critical problem. And the unfortunate thing is that people are often not even aware of that. It's kind of like solving a problem which no one has, but it really is there.
Yeah.
So you need Codin to become the purchasing director of Samsung or Xiaomi, I guess. Then they will buy your tech.
Well, that's actually our business model. We are selling it to producers, but you also see that everybody is in a rush to bring any glasses, usually looking at small mainly, so before realizing that they are carrying a Trojan horse to the future, that you have there the problem inside, which will kind of kick back a little bit. But there will be different pressures, of course. There will be the social status pressure. I think people will be buying dummies of smart glasses just to, show off that they have some smart glasses, even though they don't provide the utility. I guess this could be actually the first step that people accept it in this way. Yeah. But to get farther, it must also work.
Well, let's reconnect in 5 years and find out what the state of the art is.
Hopefully sooner. No, it depends really kind of on the application. So to get it on everybody's eyes, that's really a monster challenge. No one denies that. But to get it to, you can imagine that consumer needs something like the earbuds, yeah. But you can have bigger speakers, you can better headphones. That's the equivalent of different types of augmented reality devices. You don't have them all day. You have them only for a specific purpose. Really, for art, you just walk and digital information is flying around you, and you cannot even imagine what can be the content. That's the beauty of that. But to make it smaller, cheaper, that's actually the real challenge. Yeah.
Aline, I just want to check. Have we received any questions from the Q&A?
No.
All right. Well then, on this note, I will invite you to reconnect in 3 to 5 years to see where we're at. And thank you, Tomas, Codin, Carl, and Edgar for joining today.
And
Thank you, Edin, for the technical moderation. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm assuming we're now all gathering for a networking break in the networking break room.
Thank you, Gwendolyne. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gwendolyne.
Everyone.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.